youthful or lustful passions. Number one, when you're tempted, the first thing you need to do is to prevent temptation. Be where you ought to be. Don't go off wandering down paths and ways and directions that you shouldn't go, that you know that are going to lead you to temptation. Remember, we saw that in Proverbs chapter 7. David should have been at war. It was the time when kings went to battle, and David had stayed in Jerusalem. All right, number two, when you see something that you should not see, anything that awakens desire or lust in you, you turn immediately away from that. Turn immediately away from it. You say, but I saw enough so that now my body's turned on. Now my hormones are aflame. Now that desire is burning in my gut. What do? Well, you 2 Timothy 2:22 it. What do? You 2 Timothy 2:22. Now, what does 2 Timothy 2:22 say? Well, let me read it to you, because, and then you need to memorize it. It says, flee youthful lust. Flee youthful lust. But it goes on to say something that's very important. Flee youthful lust and pursue righteousness. Now, these are both commands. They're present imperative verbs. The imperative mood means it's a command. The present tense means continuous action. So what is he saying? You, as a habit of life, you keep on continuously fleeing youthful lust. You keep on continuously pursuing righteousness. You see, you make a choice. And so immediately when that lust comes, you turn around and you flee. Where do you flee? You flee to righteousness. You should have as a habit of your life to pursue righteousness. And believe me, if you will make that your habit, if you will make that the goal of your life, God, I'm going to be righteous. You say, what is right?
Cochran has this report from Washington.
Intelligence sources tell ABC News one of the 22 most dangerous terrorists in the world has been captured by Sudanese authorities. Abu Anas al-Libi, regarded as Osama bin Laden's expert on computers, accused of plotting the 1998 embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania, killing 224 people, wounding more than 4,000.
And the fact that he was captured, arrested in Sudan by the Sudanese and turned over to the Americans is a very significant development.
Especially significant because Sudan is still on the State Department list of countries sponsoring terrorism. The U.S. has used the carrot and stick approach, trying to help Sudan in the civil war while threatening to bomb Sudan if it harbors terrorists. ABC News has also learned that the Al-Qaeda network has stepped up communication and financial activity, moving money from country to country in Africa and Asia. Money transfers that indicate Al-Qaeda, while wounded, is still alive, still has funds to support terrorist operations, and is crafty in how it moves those resources. Al-Qaeda is relying less on banks, where money can be traced and frozen.
A lot of tourists are carrying cash around. People have been stopped at borders with huge amounts of cash on their persons, obviously acting as couriers from one Al-Qaeda cell to another.
The increased activity has American officials concerned. They say information is sketchy and far from conclusive, but that some intelligence reports do indicate a possible attack in the United States or on American interests elsewhere sometime around the end of this month. John Cochran, ABC News, the White House.
In eastern Afghanistan, American, Canadian, and Afghan forces spent another day in the Shah-e-Khat Valley, searching caves for al-Qaeda fighters. It's part of the mop-up phase of Operation Anaconda, now winding down. The fate of hundreds of prisoners captured during the war in Afghanistan could be clarified as early as this week. The Pentagon is preparing to announce that some of the detainees will face military trials. Turning to the Middle East, Vice President Dick Cheney visited 2 more countries in the region today, the latest stops on a 10-day diplomatic marathon. Today, he made some progress on the subject of Iraq. More from ABC's Terry Moran, who is traveling with the Vice President.
In Bahrain, his 7th stop in the Middle East, the Vice President got words of support from an Arab leader for pressuring Iraq to allow UN inspectors into the country or face potential U.S. military action.
Iraq must comply with all relevant
morning is a relief for Mr. Cheney, who has been publicly rebuffed by other Arab leaders as he has tried to enlist them in a move against Saddam Hussein. The vice president dismissed the notion that he is in this region simply to prepare the ground for war.
Some people want to believe that there's only one issue that I'm concerned about, or that somehow I'm out here to organize a military adventure with respect to Iraq. That's not true.
Still, with so many Arab leaders calling for the U.S. to back down, Mr. Cheney is fighting the notion that his trip has been a failure so far. For instance, Al Jazeera TV, widely seen in the Arab world, reported today that the vice president's 4-hour meeting last night with Saudi Crown Prince Abdullah was confrontational. Cheney disputed that characterization.
Last night was one of the warmest sessions I've ever had, frankly, in Saudi Arabia.
At the end of the day, another small breakthrough. As Air Force 2 pulled into the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, it marked the first time the Qatari government publicly acknowledged the existence of this huge base, where thousands of Americans have been launching strikes into Afghanistan since October.
The Taliban and Al-Qaeda have gotten a good dose of American air power.
Tomorrow, Mr. Cheney goes to Israel, where he will meet with U.S. Special Envoy Anthony Zinni, Israeli Prime Minister Sharon, and perhaps Palestinian leaders, as he adds another layer to what has become an intense American diplomatic effort to stop the violence and thus repair the damage that has been done to U.S. interests in the region while it has raged for a year and a half. Terry Moran, 86.
In the U.S. attempts to broker a Middle East ceasefire. Why a new foe of the common cold faces a tough sell at the FDA. And will a new idea for space tourism blast off?
This is World News Tonight Sunday, brought to you by Office Depot.
Cool, right after Labor Day. Cool, right after Labor Day. Well, that was once considered a fashion faux pas. Men can wear white any time of the year.
You want expert advice whenever you need it? Come to Office Depot, where our people listen, understand, and help.
How can I be organized?
A new generation of handhelds that can manage from open be access everything with like that. Office Depot. What do you need? What you need to know.
Lobster Fest is back at Red Lobster. Entree started at $10.99. Red Lobster, go overboard.
Ask your doctor about Singulair. Or for more information about Singulair, visit Singulair.com.
Morning, what you doing?
I'm watching my figure.
Well, watch it get a little bigger, because you need 3 bowls of that to get the vitamin E in total.
There goes lunch.
Here's what you need for the zinc in total.
Cool. I thought this was good for my diet.
No, you want total calcium.
Make it stop.
Only Total has 100% of 11 vitamins and minerals you need. No other leading cereal comes close.
I'll take the total. But you are going to help me clean this up, right?
Total Raisin Bran, Total Cornflakes. What are you getting for breakfast?
Oh no, here it comes. Big time midnight. Yeah, the kind that makes you want to throw in the towel. What, are you going to feel sorry for yourself? Well, grab a Thermacare, that new air-activated heat wrap. Open it up, it gets warm. It stays warm for 8 hours. Deeply relaxing tight muscles. So, circulation flows in, helping pain flow out. Ooh, can you dig it? New Thermacare heat wrap. Feel the difference between can and can.
In the increasingly volatile situation in the Middle East, what appears tonight to be a small step toward peace. ABC's Dan Harris has been watching developments for us. He reports tonight from Jerusalem. Dan?
There is a sign of progress tonight, Bob. U.S. envoy Anthony Zinni, who's on a peace mission here right now, has managed to arrange talks between military field commanders on both sides in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. This is a possible first step towards ceasefire talks. However, these meetings tonight come after a day of violence. The first attack happened just north of Tel Aviv. A 25-year-old Palestinian opened fire with his pistol at a busy intersection. Police killed him, but not before he shot 16 people. One of them, a 16-year-old girl, died. 2 hours later, a suicide bomber blew himself up outside of a bus in a Jewish area of East Jerusalem. lightly wounding a few passengers.
Israel agreed to a ceasefire. It withdrew most of its forces in the last 24 hours, and this is the response we get from the Palestinian side.
General Zinni heard about the first attack during a meeting with the Israeli president. He issued a statement saying the attacks will not deter his efforts and urging that the Palestinian Authority take responsibility and act against terrorists. A message Zinni had a chance to deliver directly to Palestinian President Yasser Arafat when the two met hours afterwards. Zinni has not yet succeeded in getting top-level officials from both sides to ceasefire talks. The Palestinians say they will not come to the table until the Israelis withdraw from the Palestinian-controlled territories they recently reoccupied as part of a controversial anti-terror operation.
If the Israelis are serious, they should start withdrawing and stopping their attacks immediately.
The Israelis have begun dismantling some of their checkpoints, but today tanks moved into downtown Bethlehem, 200 yards from the Church of the Nativity. One Palestinian gunman died in the fighting. Despite today's violence, the Israeli defense minister said tonight he is optimistic that a ceasefire deal can be reached sometime within the next 48 hours. He says he's worried, however, about what comes after that. Bob?
Thank you, Dan. Dan Harris reporting from Jerusalem tonight. In other news overseas, the Archbishop of Colombia is dead, gunned down after a wedding. Archbishop Isaías Duarte Cancino, seen here at services in Colombia, was shot outside the city of Cali late yesterday. Today, mourners honored the Archbishop, who is often critical of the leftist rebels in Colombia. So far, no one has claimed responsibility for the attack. In Zimbabwe today, Robert Mugabe was sworn in for another 6-year presidential term. Mugabe's election has been widely criticized in the West for voting irregularities. At his swearing-in today, Mugabe vowed to speed up the process of seizing white-owned farms and redistributing the land to blacks. Next up, a new drug taking on the common cold and its long road to the pharmacist's shelf.
Celebrex celebrates the Olympic spirit in all of us. Ask your doctor about Celebrex, official supporter of the 2002 U.S. Olympic team.
Still scratching that itchy scalp? Scratching isn't healthy for us. Maximum Strength Scalp Zen promotes a healthier scalp. It stops itching, stops scratching, clear, odorless, with the medicine doctors recommend. Promote a healthier scalp with Scalp Zen.
He writes the songs that make the whole world sing. By special request and overwhelming demand, Arista Records is proud to present this special collection of hit songs, Ultimate Vanilla. Barry Manilow has sold over 60 million records worldwide. Ultimate Vanilla is jam-packed with 20 smashes all on one disc, capturing the worldwide magic at one special price. CD $18.98, cassette $15.98, plus $4.95 shipping and handling. Ultimate Vanilla includes all those favorites like Could It Be Magic, Even Now, I Write the Songs, Looks Like We Made It, Daybreak, and Coco to Death. Ultimate Vanilla is the album you've been waiting for. More blockbusters include I Made It Through the Rain, Ready to Take a Chance Again, It's a Miracle, Somewhere in the Night, and Mandy. Act now, and you'll receive a limited edition poster free with purchase, featuring all Barry's original album covers. Barry Manilow, Ultimate Manilow. Don't wait. Order your copy now for $18.98 CD, $15.98 cassette, plus $4.95 shipping and handling. Get the limited edition poster free and know this one's for you. To order Ultimate Manilow, call the number on your screen or send $18.98 for CD or $15.98 for cassette, plus $4.95 shipping and handling to the address shown.
The answer is no. Tipper Gore will not make a run for the U.S. Senate. The wife of former Vice President Al Gore was approached last week by Democratic leaders from Tennessee and urged to run for her husband's old office. In a statement today, she said she's not going to do it. For Americans struggling to make ends meet, there is often reluctance to take advantage of a familiar source of assistance, food stamps. Government figures show more than 5 million people eligible for the program have dropped out in recent years. ABC's Steve Osunsami with more on the reasons why.
With the help of food stamps, 24-year-old Tina Dunn can feed her family.
You can't have everything, but we'll just get what we need, okay?
As a single parent and a nursing student with only a part-time job in Atlanta, she qualified years ago for $200 in food stamps every month. But she didn't apply until December of last year.
It's a very tough and long process.
A process so difficult that 4 out of every 10 Americans who qualify for food stamps aren't getting them. That's 12 million people, according to the Department of Agriculture, which administers the program.
There's many barriers to applying for food stamps. In many states, the application itself is pages and pages long, requires a fairly high level of education even just to be able to read the questions.
Need food stamps in North Dakota? 16 pages. If you have an air conditioner, you have to report it. Mississippi, 21 pages. North Carolina, 26. In some states, you're asked if you've sold blood, own a burial estate, or have a child with a paper route.
The red tape is a side effect of welfare reform. State-created applications designed to discourage food stamp fraud, but they're also discouraging applicants.
The Department of Agriculture.
You choose to be successful. You choose to give back. You choose to be yourself. The choices you want, the voice you need to make the most out of life. Today, AARP.
Working hard or working out, nutrition is important. With Centrum or Centrum Silver, you benefit from what science discovers about how the right multivitamins help unlock energy and strengthen immunity. Centrum and Centrum Silver, always complete from A to Z.
Tired of struggling down glass after glass of powdered fiber for regularity? Consider refreshing glasses of water with FiberCon tablets. A whole lot easier to take.
I never did as effective as powder.
FiberCon, refreshingly easier to take. A past you've never seen. Welcome to SK6. A future you won't believe. Oh my God. New Alias. ABC tonight, 9/8 Central.
The spacecraft will map Earth's gravitational field, providing a picture 100 times more accurate than current maps. They will circle the Earth 16 times a day for the next 5 years. And finally this evening, space travel for the merely rich. A Russian aerospace firm and an American company have just unveiled the prototype of what they call the world's first spaceship for tourists. They say it will be ready in 3 years, and this week a major airline...
Up tomorrow.
The astronauts who made it to the moon could never have imagined that man's destiny in space might well be this. A 3-passenger reusable ship that makes short trips into the lower reaches of space. The cost, $100,000 a ticket, the price of a high-end sports car. It's an idea that has a lot of support from some old space pioneers, including Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon.
Space tourism offers such employees.
The zoo was so small, it led to an unusual pairing of roommates, a hippo and an Asian elephant. Now their old stomping ground is part of City Hall. See this wall? That was the moat. That was in the center of the zoo, about 4 feet of water here, and out in the center there was a little concrete building. This is where Sobek and Geraldine, Fat Boy, we call her, the hippo, lived in here all together. They were big buddies. That's something, a hippo and an elephant, buddies. And then on the center of this little building where they lived inside, they used to call it Monkey Island. But on the center of this thing is where I had my chimp show. And every Sunday about 3 o'clock I'd have Rudolph Alexander. He was a chimp trainer, and I would be the announcer. I'd say, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the greatest chimp show on earth with Rudolph Alexander. It all went well for about a year or so, and then the chimp threw his little guitar down there, and the elephant took it, stomped it, ripped it apart. He got mad and quit, and so that took care of the chimp show. But this was the center of the zoo. This is what really, I think, turned the Sanford Zoo around and helped us raise a lot of money for the Central Florida Zoo. These 2 animals right in here. Another hit was when I hired Herbie Herb Sullivan. He drove a big old Thunderbird, and he just loved snakes. Herb would go out and collect Florida snakes of all kinds. Then he would let people touch them and ask questions. It was very educational.
People are fascinated by snakes, and it really helps with our attendance. This whole side adds up.